I don't know if this is a bezel or a trim piece. Anyways, I have a little dilemma in my hands. So this one here is from the 74, the green parts van. It's missing the top corner right there. This is from the 73, the shorty, and it's missing a little piece right here. And it's got this sticker on here because this was a postal vehicle or some kind of government vehicle. So it has instructions throughout the van, like telling you how to drive a vehicle, how to start a vehicle and put it in gear. So I gotta get that sticker off of there without damaging the plastic, something that's been on there since 1973. And then I'm gonna try to cut a piece off of the 74 here and then scab it in there. So I wanted to show you before I got started on it. Wish me luck. You know what? My little donor piece came out pretty good. I don't know, is that showing up? Kind of see the half moon there, and almost kind of the shape of a keyway. I super glued it a few days ago and then just let it sit, and I just got done filing it. I put some masking tape on the back. So I'm getting ready to paint it. Just prime the entire thing black. I've got this plastic spray paint made for plastic. It's just flat black. I didn't just open this Dakota digital dash. I will admit I've installed some of the sending units once I knew that this was all gonna work. Once I knew that this was gonna fit my dash. By the way, this had you know, protective film on it before, so they didn't just ship it like this. And I've already had this cluster put together, so you might see some marks on the front of this. The main reason why I wanted to make this video was for second gen owners, for Econoline 68, well technically 69 to 74 Econolines, because online it says that this digital dash will not work with the second gen Econoline. It has it listed for an F100, I believe 67 to 72, something like that. F100 is what this is actually made for. And I could see in the pictures that it had the curvature just like my cluster. This is out of the van right here, and you see it's got that curve there. So I just couldn't understand. So I called Dakota Digital and asked him, and he said, yeah, no, it won't. He said it won't work. The curve isn't right. So I sent pictures with a tape measure. I measured this all out and sent side shots. You know, there's really no way for me to measure this radius. Well, I mean, I probably could have somehow, but I didn't know how to. I sent pictures in, and I was dealing with a guy named Brad at Dakota Digital, and they're great company. They answer the phone. They've got people there to help. All the things I look for in a company. So I didn't give up that easily. So I started looking at Ford trucks, F100s, to see what's different about it. And what I could tell just in pictures was these windows right here. The curves seemed to be the same, but an F100 had an oil pressure gauge and had a voltmeter, as well as fuel and water temperature. Whereas the Econoline only has water temperature, fuel, and then idiot light. So I found one of these for an F100, and I think I only paid like $11 for it. And this is it right here. I got this on eBay for $11 plus shipping. And it's in good shape too. I mean, it wasn't missing any paint. I didn't paint this at all. I didn't do anything to this other than clean it. So you can see that just what it is it's these windows right here. See how these are all the same size here in the corners? That is all you need. If you have a second gen Econoline and you want to put a Dakota Digital dash in it, all you need is an F100 bezel. And I don't remember the exact years, but it's somewhere like 68 to 72, something like that. You're safe for an F100. See how that lines up there? You know, I have two dashes for the vans. So I took the worst of the glass, or plexiglass. This was the worst of the two. And I don't know if it'll come through in this video or not, but it was so sun damaged you can see every square. You can see every cutout, an imprint of it where the sun was cooking through it. So I sanded this down, I buffed it, I sanded it, I buffed it, and I just could not get the haze out of it. And I would imagine it's my method. I'm not used to buffing plastic, so it's probably my fault. I think I can still get this crystal clear. So I did not do all that to the one from the 73. Once I wasn't successful with this one, I decided not just to leave that one alone. So all I did was just clean that with glass cleaner. The Dakota dash also comes with a teal lens, which is what this is. You can install this instead of the blue. It's got 4 screws right on the face there, and you just switch out the lens. This is sealed, so I can't take this out of here, but you can see that. So if you wanted green readout instead of blue, that's what this one comes with it included. This is the plexiglass from the 73. Here I am touching it. I should be cleaning it again before I put it back together. I'm still holding out that I'm going to be able to get one of these crystal clear, and it's not a big deal removing this from the van whatsoever. It's actually really easy getting this whole dash out of here. So it comes with all the sending units that you need. I added it. I've got the GSS 3000 shift sensor. This isn't included when you buy the digital gauges. This was extra. This was I think $150 extra for the GSS 3000. And I also added the outside air temperature and compass, which is this one here, the BIM 17.2. And I just really wanted that. I've gotten used to driving modern vehicles. I've gotten used to having the outside air temperature right in front of me all the time, so I know if the road's ice or not. Sits right against here like this. This goes like this. There's some pins that line up, alignment pins that bring all this together. Yeah, this goes like this. Same way with this. Those pins go through the plexiglass and this steel bezel here. Oh, I did have to do one thing. So if you're doing this on a second gen Econoline, you have to drill that hole right there, that little tiny hole, because there is an alignment pin that goes through there. Right there. And also, these screws are too long. Do you see how thick that plastic is right there? So these screws that hold everything together end up being too long for the Dakota, because the Dakota doesn't have all that thickness of plastic. So what I did was, some of them are okay. They don't need the spacer, but I just went to Ace Hardware and got some of these nylon spacers here to take up that extra bit, so I'm not breaking the bezel when I screw these in, because they're only so deep. See how I broke that one right there? I don't know if that's coming through, but I snapped it threading those in too far. That's all you get right there. So you go deeper than that and you're cracking it, you're breaking it. I'm barely tightening these things. This plastic is 51 years old. All right, they're all tight. So that's what you end up with. Man, I've got to get that plexiglass cleaner than that. I know I can do better than that. I just was afraid to sand it. This is the sending unit for the speedometer. The way you're supposed to use this is like this. And then this just goes directly into the, you take your gear off of your factory sending unit and install it on here, and then that goes into the transmission, and then you connect the wiring. I need this sensor hooked up to the factory computer to coast. It holds the idle up briefly for emissions, I believe. It's to make the engine run more efficient and not build up unused gas in the cylinders, and the cruise control. What I'm gonna do, I'm gonna try to save $120. For $120, I can buy an amplifier where I just use this factory one right here. I take these two wires, run them into the amplifier, and then split them. And 2 wires would go to the dash, and then 2 wires would go to the computer, the factory computer. I'm gonna try to get this to where it'll fit in here, and then seat all the way to here. I'll still be able to plug this in. It'll sit in there like that. And this is just a tad too large to fit in here. And then I got to come up with something for the O-ring to seal that off, so it doesn't leak fluid through there. Which I don't know if that's possible. I don't know if it really will leak fluid, but through here. But there was an O-ring in there before, so I don't know if that's protecting, keeping dirt from getting inside of there, or if that's to keep fluid from getting out. But I want to try to make it to where that O-ring sits on there. All right, wish me luck. Success. I should have mentioned, I just went to the machine shop today and asked them if they could turn this down and make it the exact size to fit in here. And he said probably over 100. So I just did it on the bench grinder and some sandpaper, smooth it out, but fits in there nice, and it's engaging just fine. I mean, it's gonna end up kind of long. I'm gonna have this, some might call it a monstrosity, sticking out from the tail shaft of the transmission, but I think it's great. I mean, I know that if that got hit out here, that's a whole lot of leverage. This will be the amount sticking out of the transmission right here. Yeah, I know it's kind of vulnerable. I'm gonna find a way. I can either get real fancy, incorporate these 2 clips, because there's already, you know, there's one of these clips just like this holding the sending unit in the transmission right now. I have 2 of these sending units, one from the junkyard and one from the transmission when I bought it. I could do some like all thread and go all the way down out of the transmission, put a nut to hold this one. This is the final product. Hopefully, I don't see any reason why it won't work. And obviously this nut here is holding this one into the transmission. And this is also keeping this from being able to spin. See, I can get a little spin on it, which proves that it's not binding. See, I can still move it. So I'm not, you know, I didn't tighten this so much to where it started pulling it down and then crooking it, you know, pulling it down. So everything's tight. I was able to get the O-ring in there. and seal that off, so there shouldn't be any transmission fluid leaks. No spinning, no binding. I think we're good to go. And if you look down here, you can see the oil pressure sending unit is right there. I had to use a reducing bushing. That was 1/8 inch. The Dakota sender was 1/8 inch. And my block is 1/4 inch, so I had to use a 1/8 by 1/4 reducer. And then down a little farther, there's the temperature sending unit. That is for the dash only. The computer doesn't use that. The cooling fan doesn't need it. It's just for the dash, for the instrument cluster. I believe that was 3/8. So the sensor, the Dakota sensor, was 1/4, and my block is 3/8. So I did have to use a reducing bushing there on that one. Probably from here over to here, and then this one needs to run back a little bit, and that is for basically like this, obviously not tilted down like that. This is compass and outside air temperature. This is the thermostat here that's out in the front of the van. This needs to be mounted exactly, like, see how it says front on there? So this needs to be level and not turn. It needs to be directly in front of the van. And then so that'll get mounted over here. Kind of all of them in line like that. This is the shift module, or it's gonna register on the dash what gear I'm in, but mainly, I know that sounds like gingerbread stuff, like why do you need to know what gear you're in when your shifter is right there beside you? That's just a perk. What I really need this for is I'm going to send park reverse neutral drive to the electric motor. So when I put this shifter in gear, it also puts the electric motor in whatever gear I'm in on the shifter there. Whatever gear the gas engine's in, then the electric motor will be in the same gear. So I can't really move forward. I can't put the digital dash in there yet. I can't, I don't want to put the steering column in and have a steering wheel right here in front of me, blocking me from being able to work back here. So I want to get all of these hooked up and get all these little wires run to everything, the instrument cluster installed. Then I'm going to do the steering column, and then I can start hooking up like the cruise wires, horn and turn signals and brakes. So that's next. I just made this tray for the Dakota Modules here. It's just real thin. It's just I think, what is it, 24 gauge sheet metal. That's gonna fit in here like this. And it's fastening here, here, and back here. And I put some bends in different places just to kind of strengthen it, but it doesn't have to be strong at all. These don't weigh anything. So this one's gonna go in here like this. And like this. And like this. And that's tucked down enough to where it doesn't, it's even with this here, and the instrument cluster doesn't go down that far. It's up here like this. So I'm going to fasten these to that sheet first and and then finish installing it. Got that mounted in there. All the modules are mounted tight. Time to start hooking up wires, really. I need to keep trying to think about what I'm going to do about this cruise amplifier. It might be time to face the facts that it's just going to sit in here like this. Don't worry, the wires will hold it. This tack wire right here, it had to be able to reach, and it just barely does right there. Look at that. I think that's it though. Everything else is gonna be long enough, or I'm just running new wires. The fuel sending unit. I can finally start bringing stuff up in here. Those are the two fuel sending unit wires for the fuel gauge. This is the temperature. This is the thermostat that's out on the front of the van. It's getting wired into this one right here. I still have to do the bracket on the transmission so I can tie the linkage into this module here. All right, I'm trying to get this sensor. This is the gear selection sending unit, and I need to tie it in with the linkage for the transmission shift linkage there. So it's going to end up somewhere around here. I'm going to use this. It comes, the module comes with different brackets to mount this. I'm going to use this one. I'm going to turn this like this. Then there's screws on the bottom there. Fasten that here. That. And then it's got a little push rod that, or linkage that comes with it. About like that. I'm gonna put the longer arm on. It comes with a longer arm that'll get me up a little bit higher, even with this linkage here. All right, I think this is gonna work. I don't have a plan yet on where the linkage connects to the transmission here, but everything else I believe is settled. I'm gonna put this bracket on here first. I believe two of these holes line up. I threaded this little heim joint. I threaded this on here. I got it tightened on the arm just so I wasn't doing all that under here. This is back as far as possible. The bolt pattern on the pan must be the same as a Ford, like a C4, because I have a feeling this bracket, I mean, there's no way they have this system prepared for an A4LD, so I'm guessing Ford must have kept the bolt pattern, the space between the bolts on the pan, the same on like the C4 and the A4. I'm gonna need a bigger Phillips to really get those tight. That wasn't biting very well. Okay, that heim joint appears, it needs to be mounted on the other side, on this side of the arm instead of the inside. So I need to get that off of there. So I've got to take this back off of the bracket again because I'm not going to be able to, I don't have a 1/4-inch wrench, open end or a box end wrench. So in order to tighten that, I need to be able to get a socket on it. So I'm just going to take this back off of the bracket again, get it down to my hands, flip that around to the other side. So this is in park right now. So this would be park on the module. Should be. Yeah, I don't know how much of that travel I'm going to actually end up using. So technically it would be better to use a lower hole as far as travel, because that's a lot of travel there. I don't think this arm goes through that much travel. We'll find out though. I still need figure out how I'm gonna fasten the linkage to this linkage here. This is a Dakota Digital GSS 3000. That's what this system is called. And it comes with this all thread, this tiny little all thread and jam nuts that threads into these little heim joints, or rod ends, I guess would be the proper term for these. You know what I might do? I could take this arm off of here, drill the center of it, and put the heim joint, thread that, put the screw right in the center of that. Otherwise, or I've got to put it here. The only difference is there's going to be less travel if I bring it down. The lower on the arm I go, the less travel there is. But I guess I could move it down to a lower hole on this arm. I think what I'm going to do is go up and put it in drive 1 in first gear, bring this arm over as far as it goes, and then see how this looks as far as travel. If I pretend that it's hooked up right now, I'm gonna bring this jam nut back here. Okay, so right there, this is all the way back at the end of its travel. This is all the way back, and this is even with this. So if I go up and put this in first gear, and then see how far over it's, and then line this nut up with the arm again, and then see how much travel I get, and see if that's going to be an issue. Yeah, travel's an issue. That's not enough. I think maybe I need to put the other arm back on this, the shorter arm, and I'm going to have to choose a low hole. It says in the instructions to try to use as much of this travel as possible. The farther away each gear is spaced from the previous gear or the next gear, the better shot you have at it reading accurately and not getting confused on what gear you're in. That is not enough travel right there. One thing that worries me is my tap set may have been made in China, and I cannot read what size they are, so it gets tough, especially with tiny thread like this. I just don't know how much luck I'm gonna have finding what thread that screw is. This screw right here that would be screwing into the end of this, I would have to be able to tap that and know what size it is. The other alternative is drill a hole right here. I don't know how I'm going to be able to do that either, because I can't get my drill in there. If I remember right, this does not like to come off of the transmission. I think I left it on when I painted it. I have to make a decision. Check my angle here, see. Actually, that's pretty much perfect. See if I can not break this tiny bit. Thought I'd go faster than this. Probably heating that bit up as I got so much bit in there that it's probably heating up and not cutting very well because of all the friction on the outside. Let's check this tap. The tap's doesn't have a whole lot of thread on it, so. Should have about a 1/4 inch. I think I have a handle that will fit that small of a tap, and I even have a crescent wrench small one. Sure is turning hard. I'm gonna snap that tap off if I do that. Oof. The shavings need a place to go. I wouldn't think they'd be building up in there yet, but that tap is flexing. Shavings are getting caught up in there by the sound of it. I know I had more drill bit in there than that. Don't break the tap. Don't break the tap. Not gonna break the tap. Still like a 1/4 inch away. I really want as much screw in there as possible, but it's not worth breaking the tap though either. So I'm not gonna try to drill this tap out of this hole. I almost buried the tap. Probably plenty of thread in there. I'm gonna go a little bit farther with the tap. I'll show you when it's done. So I got that rod end right there mounted. It's all tightened up. Now I need to find what the length of that rod needs to be. The thing is though, if I cut that rod, that all thread, and then find out that this angle is not going to work, then like, well, yeah, no matter what though, I'm using this bracket right here. I should put it in park. I'm gonna go out and put it in park just to be safe. I think it said that it's supposed to, you're supposed to start all the way in the park position. I got this all done underneath here. I think it's gonna work. I didn't get the full range. Probably could have got more if I would have just moved it down one, but it kind of made this rod angle funny. But I think it's gonna be enough though. It's about 3/4 of the total travel of the sensor here. So I'm gonna go up and just go through the gears and just so you can see how this moves. This really there's no tension on this whatsoever. I mean, as far as making it harder to shift it, this arm will actually fall down on its own if it's not hooked up to anything, and it just leaves center a little bit. It'll slowly just kind of fall down, just to kind of give you an idea of how little resistance this sensor creates. I'm gonna go through the gears. There's park, reverse, neutral, overdrive, drive, second gear, first gear. Second, drive, overdrive, neutral, reverse, park. I'm gonna go up and do the work up above. I gotta get those wires brought through the firewall, put a grommet in there, and then I can start wiring everything into the modules. So I need to drill a hole. This is where the cruise control goes through the firewall. I think I'm gonna do a hole just below it, somewhere up here. Maybe choose one of these since there's already a hole in there. Like that one right there. Put a grommet in there so I can send these three. This is oil pressure, water temperature, and the shift module. So all three of those got to go through the firewall. Here are the modules. This is the main module that comes with the Dakota Digital dash. So that's main, power in, and tack, ground. That's the speed sensor right there. And turn signals and cruise and stuff back here. That's the shift module there. So that displays on the dash what gear you're in. And I'm going to come out of here when I install the electric motor. I'm going to hook these up to the controller, the park reverse neutral, and that will actually shift my electric motor into drive and reverse. And then this is the compass and outside air temperature back here. Everything's all hooked up, ready to go. I just got to put the dash in and fire it all up. All right, I got the dash all hooked up. Well, not completely. I still have to, I got to put the steering wheel in, do the turn signals, the brakes, and then the turn signals get wired into here, the hazards, brights, engine light, so forth. But I got all the sending units hooked up and got this switch put in. There used to be a brake warning light right here in this spot, and I wasn't able to use it anymore. Now I have a brake warning light built into this, so I can actually hook it up to the reservoir, and if that reservoir float drops down, it'll warn me on here and put on a brake warning on here. But I got as far as I wanted to tonight. I'm getting ready to head in. I got the I gotta reset first gear. There it goes. Gotta recalibrate it again. So tomorrow I think I'm gonna go down and get some fuel, and I'm gonna put a gallon in at a time and then check it here, and then I'm gonna keep adding it in exact gallon increments so I can get this calibrated properly. You can see the fuel gauge is flashing EE. I hope that means empty, extremely empty, because otherwise I haven't dug into it far enough. The compass is working, or not. I mean, it's working, but it's showing the wrong direction, so I got to calibrate that. But the temperature, the outside air temperature, is working, showing 43 degrees. Obviously, there's no antifreeze or water in the engine yet, but that's reading the temperature of the block at 41. So I'm gonna put fuel in it. I'm gonna do it very slowly. I have exactly 2 gallons inside of my jug, my gas jug. And I just realized before I started the camera that there's no markings on the outside of the jug showing. My plan was to put exactly a gallon in it and see if the fuel pump would prime or not. just to kind of find out, you know, how low can it get before I run out of gas, when the fuel pump can't draw fuel anymore. So I'm gonna try to judge what I think is a gallon first, and then I'm gonna kick the fuel pump on and see if I can hear it prime. I'm just gonna put a little in it. See if the gauge reads, see if the float moved, and see if the fuel pump primes, see if it grabs any fuel. Nope, doesn't sound like a fuel pump grabbed fuel. And that's still showing EE. Let's add a little more. By the way, the horn works. I can still see it flashing. I'm just gonna go the 2 full gallons. I would think 2 gallons would get that float moving. That's for sure, because it sits down inside of a dished area. I hope that EE doesn't mean that it's not reading the sending unit. Okay, that's 2 gallons, full 2 gallons. Hopefully I can hear the difference in the fuel pump priming. Kind of sounded like it that time. And also check the... Got air out of there. Sounded like it that time. Still just air. Oh, there's the fuel all over me. Okay, we've got fuel coming through the pump, but the gauge is still reading EE. I'm gonna wipe the fuel off of the seat and myself and the GoPro. Here we go. If the fuel display shows EE, this indicates that the control box is sensing an open circuit or out of range error from the sender. If either indication remains on the display, inspect the sender wire for damage. Check the routing of the sender wire. Check the sending unit grounding, and check that the sender selection is set correctly for the sending unit that is connected. I've kind of already shown all this with the lights on. It's easier to read. It doesn't glare so much. So that's with the lights on, and then it dims. The shifter definitely lit up a lot more than what the heat controls do. And it's a different blue. There's the windshield wipers. I got that to stop bleeding out around there. I used the one from the green van. But, oh, and you can see the fuel's sitting at 11%, 10%. I think it starts flashing when it drops below 10% to let you know that you're low on fuel. I don't know, I've got to read into that. Outside air temperature is 46 degrees. We are not facing northwest right now. I've got to calibrate the compass, but I can't do that till I start driving it. Obviously the engine's not running, so there's 0 pounds of oil pressure. And then there's no water in the engine, but it's reading the block temperature at 45 degrees. Right. Okay, so here's headlights, or that's running lights, parking lights. There's headlights. There's brights. Blinker, left. Hazards. I replaced the license plate light with an LED yesterday. So there's tail lights, here's brake lights. Blinker, right, left, hazards, brake lights. Oh, reverse lights. Park. I haven't even looked at the license plate light yet to see how that LED looks. Oh yeah, nice. Looks like an incandescent bulb. I got the warm, I think it was like 2700